let's do a notes update page after following standards D and E here. And so what I've gotten from this is we've got some steps to follow, and then we'll practice or show some examples. So step number 1 is going to be make the problem look like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We've got to have everything equal to 0, no parentheses in the problem, all like terms combined together in order for us to be able to deal with these problems. And then number 2, we're going to find our capital D, which is going to be the b squared minus the 4 times the a times the c that we got from that, and then we need to interpret what those numbers mean. If d comes out to be a negative number, if it's less than 0, then that means there are no solutions. Okay, that makes that go fast. If d is equal to 0, it means there's one solution. And in fact, we know what that solution is going to be, and that one solution is going to be x equals minus b over 2a. Okay. Interesting, we recognize that as being the equation for the axis of symmetry as well, and that's kind of what goes on when there's only one answer to the problem. And the last possibility is that the d value we get is greater than 0, which is going to lead to two solutions. And those solutions are going to be x equals the opposite of b plus the square root of the d that we calculated over 2 times whatever a was, or x equals the opposite of b minus the square root of the capital D all over 2 times a. All right, example 1. Let's solve. The instruction that comes with all of these is solve, so we're looking for the value of x that will make all of these things, or that will make these equations true. So I'm going to do negative 2 times x minus 3 squared plus 6 equals 10. Step 1 is we've got to make it look like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This has got parentheses, it's got all kinds of stuff going on. So to deal with this x minus 3 squared, we're going to make a square with x minus 3 on each side. It's going to be a little small in the font here, but x squared, that's going to be a minus 3x, that's going to be a minus 3x. This is going to be a plus 9 in there. If I subtract 10 from both sides here right now, I could do that. I'm going to end up with a minus 4, and at least have the 0 on the one side. So negative 2 times the stuff in the box, if I add it together, like terms here, so I got an x squared minus 3x minus another 3x is minus 6x plus a 9 minus 4 equals 0. Distribute the negative 2 through. It's a negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18 minus 4 equals 0. So negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 22 is equal to 0. And now I can identify that my a is going to be negative 2, my b is going to be 12, and my c is going to be negative 22. So I'll calculate my d, which is going to be b squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 22. That's 144 minus 4 times 2, 8 times negative 22 is 176. So I've got 144 minus 176, which is negative 32. According to my test up here, that's less than 0. So there are no solutions, and I don't need to go any farther than this. Okay, that's my first example. Second example. Let's look at 2x squared is equal to 11x plus 6. I'm going to subtract 11x and 6 from both sides so that I get 2x squared minus 11x minus 6 is equal to 0, because my standard form, I've got to have it equal to 0, so I can identify that a here is going to be 2, that b is going to be negative 11, and that c is going to be negative 6. So I'll calculate my d. It is the opposite of b, so the opposite of negative 11 is positive 11, negative 11 squared, b squared, minus 4 times 2 times negative 6. That's 121 minus negative 48, so minus negative is plus a positive. That works out to be 169, which is a positive number, so I have two answers. So two answers to this problem, and they're going to be at x equals the opposite of b, so the opposite of negative 11 is positive 11, plus the square root of my d, which I calculated at 169, all over 2 times the a, which was 2, or x equals opposite of b, so 11 minus the square root of 169 over 2 times 2. So let's see if we can do any simplifying on this. Square root of 169, if I go to my calculator, that works out to be exactly 13. So this is an 11 plus 13 all over 4. Or 11 minus 13 all over 4. 11 plus 13 is 24. 24 over 4 is 6, so there's one of my answers. Or 11 minus 13 is negative 2 over 4, which reduces to negative 1/2. There's my second answer. Said there were going to be 2 because this was positive. These worked out to be nice because we had nice square roots. Also means that I could have factored this thing. I chose to just do it this way. Okay, example 3. I'm going to go with 4x squared plus 25 is equal to 20x. Again, if I subtract 20x from both sides, I'm going to get a 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. We'll get that in standard form, quadratic linear constant. This means my a is 4, my b is negative 20, my c is 25. So I'll calculate my d, which is b, negative 20 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is 25. Negative 20 squared, negative 20 times negative 20 is 400, minus 4 times 4 times 25 is also 400, so this works out to be 0. So there is one solution. And that one solution is going to be at x equals the opposite of b. So opposite of b, which is negative 20, over 2 times 4, which is the opposite of negative 20 over 8. The two negatives there are going to make positives, and those are both divisible by 4. That would leave me x equals 5/2 as my one solution to this problem. Okay. So, other important things for me to remember along the way. I mean, I have these things in my notes here, And so the calculation of what D is, how D works together with some other stuff when there's two answers. Okay. I suppose I could put on here that when this D comes out to be a nice square root that I could factor. Factoring can work sometimes. In which case I then would use the zero product property. Because factoring ends up giving me a problem that looks like a multiplication problem. So let's go ahead and do the second example this way. So we had 2x squared minus 11x minus 6 equals 0. Our D told us that this could factor. So my factoring tool is the area model. The 2x squared is going to go in there. The minus 6 is going to go in there. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. They have to add to negative 11. So one positive, one negative. The negative is the bigger number. It feels like it's going to be a negative 12 and a positive 1. They're going to do the job there. So a negative 12x and a 1x. Common factor here is a 2x. Puts an x there, plus 1 there, minus 6 there. So I could rewrite this as 2x plus 1 times x minus 6 is equal to 0. The zero product property says if I'm multiplying these two things together and getting 0 as an answer, then either 2x plus 1 equals 0 or x minus 6 equals 0. I mean 2x is negative 1, x is negative 1/2, or x is equal to 6. And that's exactly the same answers that I came up with the other way. So factoring is also a possibility, but I have to know that I can't always factor. So there's just one other important thing or one thing to add to that that might be helpful.